today I'm going to give demo on selective grinding. The reason for doing selective grinding is to do corrections of any occlusal disharmony or occlusal error that you may encounter after processing the denture. So the end result of the selective grinding will give you the desired occlusion that you plan for this case. Okay. So after you have processed the denture, after you have removed from the flask, you cannot remove the denture from the cast, okay, the green cast. You must not remove the denture, or you must not separate the denture from the cast. And then you must place the cast onto the plaster index and make sure that the plaster index, make sure that when you place the cast to the plaster index, you follow the index that you have done on the plaster. Okay, this one we have sealed the cast to the plaster index, whereas here is the example of a cast that has not been sealed to the plaster index. So as you can see, this is the tripods that you have done, and this is the index that you have made on the cast. Make sure you place them and secure them with the sticky wax, and so that it will not move while you're doing the selective grinding. Okay, and it's okay to have some remnants of the acrylics on the cast, as long as you do not separate them. This is to avoid error in the occlusion. And if you notice, you may have rays in the incisor pin. Can you see? Okay, here is an example. In this case, the occlusal error is not so much. The pin maybe about 1 mm, 0.5 to 1 mm raised from the incisor table. Okay. So in order for you to do selective grinding, you need articulating paper. Okay. Preferably blue and red color. Articulating paper. Side. Okay, blue and red color articulating paper. So this is the whole lot of it. And acrylic burrs, round, and also Miller faucet. Okay. If you don't have Miller faucet, you can also use the articulating faucet. Okay, this is an example of articulating faucet that you can use if you don't have the Miller faucet. So you have to do like this and seal the notch here. Okay. Okay, first step, we are going to adjust the occlusion at centric position or centric occlusion or ICP. So this is to eliminate any error that occurs at ICP until the pin touch the incisor table. Okay. Okay, if you look here, zoom down. Kita angkat lah. Okay, there are contacts that have the ring with white mark. Okay, if you observe here and here and here, and these spots, okay, few spots there, and also on the maxilla. Okay, these spots and here. Okay, these are the spots that we are going to trim. Okay, please use round burr and trim on the, not on the cups, but on the inclination of the cups, which is the fossa. Okay, so you do the trimming until there is no high bite. Tak kita lah. Okay, after each trimming, please wipe on the surface with gauze. Okay, so we must wipe clean all the dust after the trimming before you put back the articulating paper. Okay, this way you will not confuse with the new spots. Okay, so if you observe here, this distribution of the high spots may be different. Okay, you have in this case we have eliminated most of the high bites and still a bit more here and there. So I will do the trimming until we eliminate all the high spots and the incisor pin touch the table. Okay, this trimming at centric position will need to be done few times until you get the incisor pin to touch the incisor table, and please make sure that the incisor pin is always at 0, because sometimes if you do not screw this properly, the pin will raise. Okay, after you have satisfied with the occlusion at centric, and then we will check at eccentric, which is by doing the lateral excursion of the articulator. Okay, so do adjustment of the occlusion at eccentric. Okay, so for eccentric, it is meaning that you move the articulator arm to one side. Okay, you unlock one of the arm. This is on the right side. Okay, so if you observe here, when I move the articulator to the right, okay, meaning the working side is here on the left, okay, edge to edge. You can observe that the pin is raised. Okay, when you move to the articulator to the right, meaning the mandible is moving in the mouth to the left, which is the working side. Where the jaw move, that is the working side. Okay, so the buccal cups edge to edge. Observe the pin raised. Okay, and you should also look at the non-working side. Okay, now we will check the occlusion using the activity paper at both sides. So make sure when you you place your activity paper at the eccentric position, don't do the marking at centric, but eccentric. The articulator move the right. Okay. You can use different color of activity paper for the contralateral side. Okay. So if you observe carefully, there is a slide of the palatal of the mesiobuccal cups of the maxillary molar opposing the mandibular cups, buccal cups of the first molar. Okay. So here there's a high spot. Okay, if you observe, there's a this is the working side. If you observe, there's a slide, meaning when I put the articulator paper and I glide the articulator arm, okay, to the this is the working side. Okay, now but the articulator moves to the right. Okay, you can see that there's a slide here on the first maxillary mesiobuccal cups to the mandibular buccal cups. So there's a high bite. Okay. So and also here on the non-working side there is slide. Okay, if you observe, opposing the respective spots. Okay. So when we want to trim the at eccentric, we follow the Bull rules, BULL, meaning the buccal of upper and lower lingual. Meaning for the maxilla, we trim the slope of the inclines of the buccal upper teeth here. In this case, because there's high bite on the lower, we trim here. Or if there's high bites on the lower, we trim the lower lingual. Okay. This is because you cannot trim down the tip of the cups. You cannot trim down the tip of the cups here. This will result in flat occlusal surface. That's why you have to trim the slope. Or if the functional cups of the maxilla here is occluding on the slopes of the occluding on the fossa of the lower teeth, you must trim the fossa. Okay, if there's high bite here, you must trim the respective slopes, respective fossa. For the maxilla, the palatal cups is the functional cups. That's why you cannot trim down the palatal cups of the maxillary teeth. Whereas for the mandibular teeth, the functional cups is the buccal cups. That's why you cannot trim the cups of the mandibular teeth. That's why you can only trim the lower lingual or the buccal upper. You should not trim the functional cups. So for the maxilla, we will trim the slopes of the buccal cups, but for the lower, we have to deepen the fossa or the slopes inclination of the lower lingual cups. Okay, here I will trim the inclination of the buccal cups. And for the high bite on the maxillary, I will trim the slopes of the mandibular lower lingual. And you must clean after each trimming the spots for you to check the occlusion at after you have done the trimming. Okay, make sure the surfaces are all clean. Okay, after we have satisfied with the trimming at eccentric by moving the articulator to the right side or working side on the left side, now we move to the opposing side. Okay, make sure you loosen the arm on the one side, okay, but lock the articulator at one side because you want to move the arm only to the left side. So now, if you move the arm to the left side, meaning the working side will be on the right side. Okay. So you move until the buccal cups is edge to edge, and you look at the non-working side. Okay, there's raise in the occlusion, and also the pin is also raised. If you observe, there's the raise of the pin, meaning the pin do not touch the susceptible. Okay, so we have to check where is the high spot. Tak ada apa, tak telinga macam kereta lama kan. So now you can check, there's few slides, but not all slides shows the high bite, where you can see that the slides here. Okay, slides, few spots. So I will trim the high spot following the bull rose decay, buccal of upper and lower lingual until the pin touch the table and stays in contact at all the lateral movement. Okay, so you repeat the trimming and the occlusive adjustment at eccentric until the pin touch the incisor table and the pin stays in contact at all lateral movement. Okay, meaning if you move the articulator arm to the left and right, the pin stays in contact. Okay, with no jump. Maknanya pin tak terangkat. Okay, smooth movement of the teeth in contact to both lateral side, left and right side. Okay, if you see that the teeth are in nice contact, and the pin did not raise. Okay, after you have satisfied with the lateral movement, the adjustment of the occlusion will be done at protrusive. Protrusive meaning the articulator will is pushed to the back, or the incisor the anterior incisors meet at edge to edge. Okay. At this position, the pin should not raise, but there should be contact of the maxillary teeth anteriorly and the posterior teeth or posterior cups posteriorly. Okay. So the pin should not raise when the anterior teeth in contact edge to edge and the palatal cups or touch to the opposing molar. So the contact of the anterior teeth is balanced by the posterior teeth. Okay. So here, if you observe, there is contact of the anterior teeth at edge to edge, and also contact of the posterior teeth or balanced by the posterior teeth. Okay, if you have to trim the incisor edge, trimming has to be done on the, okay, let's say if there's high part. Okay, so when you check the if there is raise of the incisor pin, then you have to check. Okay, move the slide the articulator until the teeth in contact edge to edge a few times. Okay, and you should see where is the high bite. So if there is high bite, you must trim only at the okay. You should not shorten the incisor edge, but instead you trim the palatal part here of the incisor edge. Okay. So do not reduce the height of the incisor edge. Okay, in this case, okay, if I move the articulator until the anterior teeth is edge to edge. Okay, if you observe, okay, the pin raised and there is no contact of the anterior teeth. Okay, there is no contact of the anterior teeth. Okay, there's no contact of the anterior teeth, but there is interference or contact at the posterior teeth. So I will check the occlusion at posterior when I move the articulator to the protrusive. So in this case, you can observe a few high spots. Okay, at the first premolar, both sides, and first molar, . and on the maxilla, canine. A bit on the canine, first premolar, opposing the first premolar. So you can see that the palatal cups of the first molar opposing the lingual cups of the mesolingual cups of the first molar. So I will trim the slopes here and the slopes here, which is oppose the lower first premolar. Okay. So make sure you did not trim down the cups. Always bear in mind that you should not shorten the cups. So even though if you see here there's high bite because of the opposing canine, but I trim the palatal surface of the canine a bit, and I did not touch the palatal cup, the buccal cups of the first premolar. Okay. After you have done the trimming, again clean the occlusal surface of the debris. If you have you can also use blower. Okay. So in the end, what we will look at when we check the balance occlusion is at centric or at ICP, eccentric position, the pin is at 0. Okay. The pin must be always at 0. The incisor pin touch the table. You have interdigitations of the cups, the posterior teeth. Interdigitations. Overbite and overjet. And then when we free the articulator arm, okay, and when we check at eccentric, there is a smooth movement. Okay. When you move, when you move the articulator to the working side, left and right side, there is a smooth movement and interdigitation. And at protrusive, there's meaning if you move the articulator to left or right working side, there is a balance on the non-working side. There is a balance contact at non-working side. And at protrusive, okay, contact of the anterior teeth is balanced by the contact of the posterior teeth. Okay. And there is interdigitation. Okay. 7. You can check by moving by locking one side of the articulator if you want to check to each one side individually. Okay. So that's all on balancing of the occlusion. Okay. Selective grinding.